Welcome into Triple Zeros, the anti-hot take sports show. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com, and the email address is clockersports@gmail.com. And of course, you can follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at 30spod. That's the number 30spod. Man, it's time. It's my favorite time. We're about to have an overlap of the sports that I cover, so that means that I like it. And that's the NFL season, NBA season overlapping, and the Chicago Bulls just held their media day. They opened up training camp on Tuesday. And to break it all down, I brought in a very special guest, Ryan Taylor of NBC Sports Chicago. Please follow him on Twitter at RYT at RYT underscore. That's at RYTAY underscore. Ryan Taylor, digital producer for NBC Sports Chicago. Thank you so much for joining the show, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Josh. I appreciate it. And yeah, everyone's stumbling over my Twitter handle. I just got verified. So it was tough to pick one because when you get verified, I didn't know that your handle is permanent.
Yeah, man.
That's what it is forever. So that's kind of a college nickname I acquired, right? It's Rye from just short for Ryan Taylor. So
the worst part is it's funny. I think it's something with you NBC Sports Chicago guys. So I had the same issue with Ken, and I had the same issue with Alex.
Oh God, if you ever yeah, that's true because Alex is NBC and Ken. What's Ken?
Ken
that's Ken Davis.
That's
right?
Ken, right? But you're looking for the tag for the station, and then with Alex, the superior, I think I kept wanting to say NBC5 Alex, something like that. I kept throwing up. And then yours, I'm looking and I'm saying to myself Arte, and I'm like, wait, there's another Y right there. It's something with the NBC. You guys are trying to throw me off. That's all. It's
a bit confusing. Yeah, we're trying to throw. Hey, if you ever get Josh Schrock on here, his is Schrock and all.
Yeah,
it's the most ridiculous. You can keep this in, and he can take this from me. That is his most ridiculous handle. That I think
that had to come out a while ago, and he's just like, you know what? No, we're gonna ride with that, man.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. Let's roll. Let's get into this.
So the Bulls, like I said, had their media day, and a lot came out of it. Let's first talk about I think the biggest bombshell, and it wasn't even just that Lonzo Ball spoke. It was what his head coach Billy Donovan had to say, and that was that. We kind of have to entertain the idea that Lonzo could miss the rest of the season. It hasn't even begun yet, right? He could miss the entire 2022-23 campaign. What were your thoughts when you heard that, Ryan?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw Darnell Mayberry from The Athletic tweet that quote. And yeah, definitely it was kind of to me as if it was elephant in the room type thing where he didn't want to, he just kind of went out and was just honest with it. And from one side of it, I appreciate it because I understand Billy Donovan is the kind of coach that, preps for worst case scenario. But to jump to, I feel like that's something you say after the surgery. Maybe rehab isn't going as smoothly as you thought. He kind of just jumped the gun with that one. I'm not upset by it because at the same time, I'm realizing he's not leaning to have Lonzo back in the season for them to have a successful season. But at the same time, it's nerve-wracking because Lonzo Ball is a special player, and I think he's imperative to the Bulls and on both sides of the ball, obviously. And to hear him, to hear even the sentence he could be out for the year is definitely not what you want to hear when you're not even a preseason game in or anything. But yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting one that he kind of jumped the gun on it. But to me, he's just prepping for the worst, which is what good coaches should do, I think, is, prepare for what you have on the table now, which is not Lonzo Ball and possibly not Lonzo Ball for the entire season. So I'm kind of sticking with that, but definitely giving us all a scare, Billy Donovan for sure.
Yeah, I think we like you said, it was the elephant in the room when they've been vague all summer long. Lonzo was asked about it at Summer League, and he kind of tried it off. They've been hoping a lot, right? There hasn't been very much concrete anything. It's been a lot of hope and wishing. And then to hear Donovan say that you kind of have to, just think that maybe he won't be. That's kind of damning, especially when you think about, okay, we've been hearing the comparisons to Kendrick Nunn from the Los Angeles Lakers, and he missed the entire year last year. And so you see the parallels there, but that didn't require surgery. And so I wonder, is there any additional concern? Because like Lonzo's still under contract for the next 3 years, right? There's 60 million, something like that, owed to him. He's young, so there's a hope they can bounce back. But this is the type of surgery that can lead to, or maybe, I don't want to say result in, but there can be arthritis associated with this procedure down the road.
Sure.
And that's a concern with knees in this town, especially.
Yeah.
Is there any extra concern for you as we now go into the third surgery on this knee?
The only concern for me, I'm just going to relate it back to the theme with Billy Donovan, is, which I don't think is true, but do they know more than we think that they do? I have to believe that they don't, but there has to be some type of circumstance to make Billy Donovan believe that there's a chance that he misses the season. Outside of what we know from what Lonzo said, which was horrifying to hear, honestly, to say the least. I tweeted earlier today that I didn't think it was that bad, that he was struggling to walk upstairs and, be hurting and be in pain most of the time he was playing basketball and whatnot. But concern wise, I'm not one to look too deep in the future. For a good example, a lot of Bears fans are freaking out about Justin Fields and his long-term future of the Bears. That's not me. I'll say the same for Lonzo. I think it's too early yet to draw concern. We have to see how the season goes. We have to see how the surgery goes first of all and foremost. We have to see how his rehab goes and how he looks when he gets back. So there's a lot yet to tell. And you're right, he has 3 more years on his contract. But I would be remiss to say that with 3 years left and $60 million left that we owe him, there's a little concern that he might not fulfill that contract. When he's healthy, he maxes that contract. He makes Arturas Karnisovas and that front office look unbelievable for that sign. Man. But when he's not healthy, it looks bad. So it's a to be seen for me. But yeah, I guess in a sense there's a little bit of concern.
We're going to touch on how Karnisovas looks in the grand scheme in a second. But you talked about it. Hearing Lonzo talk today was really heartbreaking. You could see it in his face. Yeah. You could hear it in his voice. The entire mood was just somber. He did it remotely via Zoom. Again, most of the players all did it on Monday. They all had their media day, right. And then Lonzo was in with another group that it wasn't a lot of streaming going on with it. So yes. I don't want to say they tried to keep it under wraps, but it definitely wasn't the fanfare that came along with media day for everybody else.
Agreed.
And as you mentioned, Darnell Mayberry was tweeting out some of the quotes, and hat tip to him for this. He said, Lonzo said he still can't play basketball. I can't run or jump. And then they asked him if he was feeling chronic pain or only during basketball activity. This to me was the most standout part, because we had been hearing all along that it was whenever he tried to ramp up. And that was like, right. Okay, well, I get that. This is getting better, but it's only when he tries to increase the intensity. Well, according to Mayberry's tweet, Ball said that it's every day, even going upstairs and stuff, it's still painful. Upstairs, he can't even get upstairs.
Can't even get upstairs.
That was so gut-wrenching to hear. And like you tweeted, like, man, it's worse than I think anybody could have imagined, in part because of how vague it was, but also because we haven't heard anything, right? Not even because they were saying they were hoping, just because he hadn't spoken on it. And there's been so many pauses. It didn't seem plausible that we could be dealing with this 9 months later, and realistically looking at a year before Lonzo can even step on the floor again.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. You're right. I was watching in the studio today, and I was completely eyes wide, jaw down to the floor, because we were left in the dark a bit this summer with him. We knew there was stuff going on. I'd heard from our own KC that it was a fluid situation. They weren't sure how it was going, but to me, it didn't sound that bad. Not as bad as I can't run, I can't jump, I can't control myself. And I'll throw another one at you. The range of motion, 30 to 60 degrees, is ridiculous.
He can't put any pressure on it.
Blew my mind away. I had no idea it was that bad. There's not much to say about it. I just I was dumbfounded. I understood why in the time they tried to get him to rehab to try and get him back for the playoffs instead of surgery, but I'm curious what took so long in the summer as well. That for me is another point, but it's a huge hit to me. It's a really big hit. He brings so much to the table on both sides of the ball that we saw with empirical evidence last year with what the Bulls were without him, and that was a slower team, a team not able to defend as well. Excuse me. A team that lost some 3-point shooting touch and had to kind of rely on Zach LaVine and others to facilitate for the gaps that Lonzo left. So, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And honestly, I think I'm just going to leave it at that and pass it back over to you because there's not much left to say outside of that.
Yeah, anybody that was maybe doubting the severity of the injury or did just wants to get some more insight, watch that press conference, watch that stream rather, and see Lonzo's emotions talking about. You can see it, like it's clearly visible that it's a deeply disturbing thing. Zach LaVine tried to give him some encouragement, told him that they need him during his media availability, and from what they are saying, they try to wait till this will, this is the last resort. They wanted to let him heal, and even the doctors are kind of baffled by this, which is that again was another shocking thing. Like
that was another one too that kind of stumped me. Whoa, the doctors are confused.
Right, confused.
that one hurt to say the least too.
So let's switch the focus though, because I don't want to keep it all down because that was a very dour.
Please don't keep it all down.
Let's talk about some hopeful things, and that is how they can get around this. Now, last year, I think the most damning thing was that they were just woefully unprepared for the loss of someone like Lonzo, which you could say he's not a star, but he's your starting point guard. Right? He's arguably your best perimeter defender, and he's arguably, if not the best, one of your best 3-point shooters. So that's a pretty, if he's not a star, he's got like right underneath it, right? All the checks, all those boxes. But you have a young budding star, they hope, in Patrick Williams, who, while not the playmaker Lonzo is supposed to be a great defender. He can shoot the three, right? Even though that release is a little bit slow. He talked today about the offense being more positionless, I think, to adapt to not having Lonzo there, which I think suits him. What do you have in mind for Pat this season in terms of a progression?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've had this thought for a while about Patrick Williams, and I want to get it off my chest before I dive into what I hope for Pat. But you hear the offseason talk, right? He's working out with DeMar in LA at 4 or 5 in the morning. He's getting bigger. I've seen a countless amount of social media videos of him working out with guys. Zach said he worked out with his trainer, but I'm not hearing it until I see it. I have to see it to believe it with Pat. No one doubts his physical talent. We know he's a strong guy. He came in here in the NBA as a 19-year-old rookie and was defending LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard. We know he's a strong guy. We know he's got a nice shot. Yes, it's slow, but that can be worked. We know he can defend. We know everything that he can do, but it's just that hesitant, mentality that he has that he needs to overcome. I'm not at all doubtful of what he can do on the floor. I'm more doubtful of how
he'll actually do it.
If he'll actually execute it in his mind. So that's my take with Pat is, I'm not going to get excited about his offseason work because I don't doubt that he's putting it in, and I don't doubt that he has the capability to be a star. Saying that, yes, we need to see more from him. To see a lot more on offense because we're losing Lonzo Ball for the start of the season at least, and B, because he can bring a lot on that side of the floor. We know what he can bring on the defensive side, and that's an easier mental obstacle to overcome, I guess. When the ball's in your hands, there's a lot of different things you can do. When you're playing on and off ball defense, there's only a few things running through your mind. I think it's a lot easier to overcome mentally than it is physically, or than it is on the offensive side. But on offense, I definitely need to see a lot more aggression from him, and that it's just as simple as that. It's just him getting the ball in his hands and understanding that he can do things that maybe the other guys on the floor can't, or maybe he's off ball and he sees a better angle towards the basket than others. It's just him taking a larger step on offense that we need to see. And I don't want to put a point total number to him. I don't want to put an assist number to him. I want to put an efficient number to him. I want him to be shooting well. I think he has the capability to come on that fringe of a 40% 3-point shooter. I think he has the capability to take 8 to 10 shots a game. I really do. I think I just need to see the aggression from him. And that's pretty much it. I'll leave it at that. I just want to see him have a more active role in the offense.
I think my stance switched to that as I was writing about him this summer. And it was after he came back from working with DeMar and he was talking about, I just got to go find a consistency. And I was, transcribing the quote and then trying to find it again. It popped up with something from like his first offseason. I was like, damn, we're still saying the same thing. So maybe we should start putting it into action. And so I'm with you on that. But I do think that the change in tone from Donovan today was something that was notable because he said it like flat out. Like there was no more, hey, we believe in Pat. He just got to go do it. It was, no, we need him to take that next step. And I think that was a significant shift.
Right. You kind of saw that. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right about that. There was that type of tone last year. It was like, oh, it was more encouraging. Oh, we need to see, we're excited for him. This is his second year. And now it's like, all right, dude, you're on the back half of your rookie deal, and we don't know if we want to sign you yet. Mm-hmm. We know that last year you had an ankle injury in training camp and wrist surgery that kept you out a ton, but we don't know what you're capable of. You are a number 4 pick. You're number 4 pick. You're a top pick in this draft. And you didn't have, we kind of took a risk on you. You were a 6th man on Florida State's bench coming out. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. And there were a lot of guys they passed on with him. So, I'm not unhappy that they're taking a tough love route with him. I kind of hope that's the route they take with him is, give him some tough love of, look, we're expecting more out of you this year. And we know that's a tough task to ask. The dude's 20, 21 years old.
Right. That's 21 this summer.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there was a joke about everyone saying, oh, now he's 21 or because he was a 20-year-old starter for whatever. And, but now, yeah, so he's 21. Still a lot to ask of a guy, but the only reason they're asking that is because they know it's not out of his wheelhouse. They know it's within his arsenal to be able to have a bigger hand. And, I think having Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic ahead of you helps that. You just kind of have to clean up the streets, when all's said and done. So I think it's doable for him. I hope to see that of him, and I think it'll be transparent quickly whether or not his mental is shifted, because really that's all it is. And if we're seeing that type of mental he has in the G League where he's kind of tearing dudes up because he knows he can, that's when I'll get excited about him. But right now, I'm neutral with him. But I hope that I hope that he'll step it up this year.
It locks up with you on it'll be clear right away because of this is being his first healthy offseason. They've pushed that the entire year. So I think you're going to see them try to get him going early. I think for me, the most disappointing part about Pat has been seeing guys. Scotty Barnes is obviously the number one example coming in and kind of take over right away. The pick that the Bulls traded away and to get Nikola Vucevic is Franz Wagner. He's doing things aggressive wise. And it's like you said, Pat keeps teasing us. And all you have to do is fill in these gaps, and it hasn't happened. I'm hoping that last year's injury is just the aberration that's kind of ruining our overall view of him, and that he can prove everybody wrong. Right. But let's talk about the risk that they've taken, the risk overall with this roster that Karnisovas has taken. Like I said, traded those picks for Vucevic, traded for DeMar DeRozan, traded for Lonzo Ball. Where are you at right now with Karnisovas in this rebuild?
Great question. And I've always appreciated, I'm a big fan of aggressive managers. I'm a big fan of taking shots. I was very excited when Kobe Altman of the Cleveland Cavaliers traded for Donovan Mitchell, because that trade certainly could be pegged as an overpay for Donovan, right? They gave up how many first round picks and,
3 or 4,
a lot.
Yeah, they gave a lot, and then they gave
a lot of picks. And well, let me say this: I appreciate aggressive managers that take calculated risks. I think that because you can make the argument that looking at the Nets, and they went after James Harden and traded legit 8 first round picks for him, 4 swaps technically, so technically 4, but 4 swaps. That's absurd. That is absurd.
That's everything you can get. That's all you can give.
Yes,
illegally.
Right. So that to me was a little. On one hand, I appreciate the aggression trying to get James Harden paired up with those two, but at the same time, know your boundaries. But when back to the Kobe Altman example, that to me, is a little bit of an overpay. But I mean, you got to strike when need be, and that's kind of what I thought. Arturas Karnisovas did immediately, and that is something. I don't think we saw a lot of aggression out of Garpax through that whole long thing. Yeah. and I appreciate
battle wounds, man.
Right?
PTSD.
Yeah. I shouldn't have. Thou who shall not be named. But yeah, I appreciate Karnisovas for at least going out and just saying, hey, we're Chicago, man. We are a top market. We're a big name. We have history. Let's bring guys in. Let's go after it. And it's tough. It's a subjective game, right? There's going to be no objective right answer to how you fulfill a roster, but they are going at it how it fell together for them. And like with the Cavs with Donovan's available. All right, let's go get him. Oh, DeMar DeRozan's available. Let's go get him. Oh, Lonzo Ball. Pelicans don't want him back. Let's go grab him. There's this type of the aggression that they have that I'm proud of to be as a fan. And I kind of see I take the same thing with Rick Hahn at the Sox, because there's a lot of trades that are, this was a total bust for Hahn. Kind of like that. I don't know if you're a Sox fan or not, but
I'm a Cubs fan, but I follow.
Okay, so
follow.
the trade with giving up Nick Madrigal and Cody Hoyer for Craig Kimbrell. Total bust, right? But you look at that in its pretext and you say, oh my God, we already have AL reliever of the year with Liam Hendricks. Now we can get Craig Kimbrell. He's eight-time All-Star. How could I say no to that? That's kind of the mentality that I appreciate out of general managers, and one that I see in AK, obviously, as they turn this roster around immediately within their tenure. And also shout out to Mark Eversley. I know he's doing tremendous work, maybe in the background in the shadow of AK, but definitely tremendous and impactful. So that's the way I look at it. Trade bust or not, I ascertain the fact that they're making moves, and I appreciate that heavily, especially with how today's NBA goes with, bunch of trades, plus how stacked up the Eastern Conference is now. That to me is tremendous. So I commend their work, as high as it can be, because they're attempting, they're being aggressive. They're taking calculated risks. So I appreciate that.
That being the case, they went Oppo this year and said, we're going to stick with what we've done and try to let it ride out. Where are you with that process?
Well, I mean, you look at it in its context, and, that was the one thing I wanted to say too about with Lonzo and everything and how they acted after. There was a lot of injuries still after. That wasn't just Lonzo. There was Caruso. There was Levine playing through like 3 injuries. There was, I think Vooch even had something going on for a bit. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But either way, it felt like at one point that most of the team was injured. And you're right. You like what you saw at the beginning of the season, right? When you had healthy Lonzo and you had everyone going crazy, and, we're number 1 seed in the East in January, February, but then you don't get to see that in the last half. And, it's kind of like pausing a movie halfway through that you're just sucked into, but you want to watch the rest of that movie. Right. So, but you also have the time to do it. No one is, there's only a couple guys, correct me if I'm wrong, with expiring contracts. There's Vooch. He has 1 more year on his
Vooch
deal.
and Kobe are the clean breaks. You got some lower level guys,
and technically Io too, because of that second round 2 years.
They're not letting him go anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. But so there's no real need to hit the panic button yet. So I thought that was a smart move as well, because you just want to see what this group can do. I mean, 6th seed with a bunch of injuries and 1 year altogether, and that's it. I mean, this roster was overhauled in a second, and how long it takes to get chemistry on the court. So I thought it was a tremendous move, and they developed the margins greatly with Andre Drummond and Goran Dragic. I thought those were phenomenal moves as well. I just love what they're doing. It's a breath of fresh air with them.
I'm always skeptical of doing something because it sounds like it's a good way to go about it. The continuity thing was kind of, he attached that buzzword. I was like, here we go with buzzwords, man.
Yeah, there's
but
the buzzword.
I can't deny that in basketball, especially, chemistry is a very, very big factor. So I whatever, he's getting paid the big bucks. I'll step back on this one.
Yeah.
Follow along. But talking about Drummond and talking about Dragic, I do like the additions. Drummond today said some interesting stuff. He was asked about it, so it's not like he brought it up out of nowhere. But he said that he still feels like he's a starter and is willing to step up and start. Do you foresee any scenario? Because I saw Sam Smith wrote about this a couple of days ago. He was suggesting that they outright bench Vooch and put Drummond as a starter. But do you see any scenario where, like, because Vooch entertained it too, where they're playing both of those guys together? Because I don't want to see the Vooch Tristan Thompson effect. So I'm very leery of it. But are you at all trying to see a Vooch and Drummond pairing in the front court?
Well, no. Quite frank. And I'll say this, I can't see Billy doing it at all. You watched last year how Tristan Thompson and Vucevic worked on the court together, and it looked cool for a good 5 minutes before it was like, all right, this is no longer entertaining and no longer efficient. look, I think Nikola Vucevic can do what Andre Drummond can do better. It's just Drummond doesn't bring anything to that first line that Vucevic can't. If it were a matter of, oh, he's an unreal rim protector. If it's like a Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns situation where, Rudy's an unbelievable defensive center and Cat is unbelievable on the offensive end, you kind of have to pair them together to make it, this kind of perfect front court. I'm really out there with that take. And they haven't played a game yet. But there's just nothing proprietary, I think, that Drummond brings to that first line that Vooch doesn't. And like I said, if he filled the gaps where Vooch, can't really handle that rim protection, more of that defensive side, we know what Vooch can do on offense. So then I would say maybe there would be something there, but no, I don't think so. I mean, Drummond's known for his rebounding, which Vooch was top something in the league last year, averaging 11, 12 a game. So no, I think I say he's a great marginal addition because he brings something that the bench can't bring, which is that defensive, that rebounding, that interior presence. So
he's not going to get picked up and carried off like Tony Bradley did last year.
Yeah, I don't want to see him again. No, we're done with him. And I wish, and I hate watching small ball with us. As much as we have just a great backcourt and and great wings and whatnot, I'm every time we play. I mean, the East is just so big. The East is huge.
Yeah, Bulls are locked into playing one style of ball.
I'm telling you, and it's just we're in a niche with our play style, and it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. And the East haunts me with how big they are, especially last year. Even when the Cavs were kind of they still had Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and watching Lauri Markkanen, the 7-foot Lauri Markkanen play the three was terrifying to me. I couldn't stand to watch those games. So I mean, I even was saying I was hoping that Cleveland wasn't going to match up in our playoff rankings. I was like, dude, they might just go up. They might just, if we were a 3 and they were a 6, I was like, they could bring us to 7 and bad. That might have been bad. So yeah, no, I mean, Drummond, great signing, good for the bench, helps a lot interior wise. Please don't play him with Vooch. And I don't foresee it either. I don't see Billy doing that after how I appreciate they experimented with that last year, but after how it went, I don't see it happening.
And to your point, after initially entertaining the notion, he quickly said, it's not something I'm going to be looking to do.
Yes, exactly. I mean, would you rather have Drummond out there, or you can bring, there's just so many other guys that you can pair out there. I mean, with how backcourt heavy we are, you could technically play small ball wise where you're playing Zach at 3, you're playing DeMar at 4, kind of, giving them that punch 1-2. And then you're maybe playing Ion Caruso, 1-2. There's just a lot of different options that we can do with the backcourt. And bring a little bit of that into the front court that I think are more valuable than just bringing Drummond on and just trying to create 2 twin towers that don't belong together. So
yeah, that wouldn't be pretty at all, man. 2 lumbering guys.
Yeah,
too.
I agree. So yeah, don't foresee it.
Now, I'm just thinking about, because he was all for yeah, man, we got to do it. I mean, I'm like, no, nobody.
And I liked Tristan Thompson too. I'll say this. I really appreciated the amount of stuff I heard of him in the locker room. You know how hard it is to walk into a locker room for your, you've
called
been
everybody
there.
out the first day.
You're the low man on the totem pole. You're the newest guy there, and you are just beaming dudes. Yelling at him, riling him up, and it's like, yo, who are you? You're a Kardashian.
I was like, that's exactly what they need.
Right. Yeah.
They needed something else. Maybe they needed that too, but they needed something else.
They did. Yeah. Maybe they needed something else, but I can't say that I didn't appreciate it. That, because we love that energy. We love that energy. And there's not a lot, we have a lot of silent killers on this team, like DeMar and Zach. They like to do their talk on the court, but you got to have someone to rile you up. Right. And I appreciated it for its time when it was there, but at the same time, it's time to play basketball.
Time to play. Let's shift the attention to the backcourt and to that void that is left by Lonzo. Because we know Billy was very non-committal about it. He kind of hinted it wouldn't be Dragic, but he really kind of said that sounds like it's going to be matchup based. Who's going to start there? Who would you like to see starting there?
That's a great question. And I mean, I'm just a big fan of Io. I'm a huge fan of Io DeSumo. And reason being is because I think I feel like just trying to replace Lonzo Ball, but I feel like he just brings that that X factor. He brings that excitement. And I'm not trying to say excitement is exciting to watch. That type of hustle and grit that in sort of intangibles that Lonzo brought, where it doesn't really show up on the stat sheet, but you see how much it affects the game. His defense was great last season. I thought he was a really good defender for a rookie and for being pretty undersized too. And now he's bulked up. He's learning to play offense a bit better. They try to make him to catch and shoot guy. They're adding elements to his game. I mean, last year it was just phenomenal to watch him. And I think after this offseason and how much, at least I've been hearing, he's been saying how much he's improving his game. I'm more excited about him. I think that Billy might go with Goran if I'm giving a prediction now, just because coaches appreciate veterans and Goran's a tough guy, and he brings that 3-point shooting that we don't really have. He brings a lot to the table that we don't have as a point guard. So it'll be tough, but I do want to see Ayo. I'm a huge fan of his game, just with that energy that he brings. He's got a certain grit to him and hustle that is just so memorable. And I just think it fits well with the rest of the bunch of what they can do, because he kind of does the little stuff that, not everyone wants to do, that diving for balls, getting dirty. So yeah, I want to see him start.
It's notable that during his availability, Dragic noted that he's good in the pick and roll, and we know how the Bulls like to use the pick and roll. And I was just thinking when he said it, I warmed up a little bit to the idea of pick and pops with him and Vooch, with Zach and DeMar on the wings. I was
pick and pops, but I think even his passing off of screens is phenomenal, and something you line up Zach. You can just see it, kind of just a crisscross switch, and he's dishing with his left hand over to Zach on the wing, and that just sounds amazing too. Right. I think they'll be split. If anything, I think the hotter question is how much time Kobe will get. I think he's already looking at his way out. What do you think?
And that was going to be my next question.
There we go. I'm reading your mind.
They need the shooting, but could you see an instance where they say, okay, we're getting enough shooting from the guys that we have that we can move Kobe for some front court versatility?
Are you not surprised that they didn't dish him, and that there was those rumors with him in the 18th pick, who we took for Dalen? Also, Dalen, who knows where he's going to?
That's an X factor. If there ever was one.
It is, but I've heard KC actually say that he might probably play a considerable amount of time in the G League, which is crazy to me. I heard that and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, really?
Thought he was going to be ready to get some tick with the big
I did
squad.
too, but I mean, you think about it, and there's just so many guys that I would.
He's also raw.
He's raw. We saw it. You saw it, right? In summer league, he's raw. He's a lot to work on offense, even defense wise. He doesn't have all the awareness yet. Saying that, I think a guy like Javonte Green might get tick over him. He already kind of has a better IQ than him. Maybe not the athleticism or the length that he has, but he certainly has the hustle too.
Right.
But anyways, getting back to Kobe, they kind of stuck his neck out for him, or maybe that, or that they just didn't see a good enough offer for him in the 18th pick. But gosh, with how loaded this backcourt is, we're not even talking about Lonzo, and this backcourt is loaded. I don't see a lot of promise for him this year. I don't think he'll be around long. That's an early take of mine without seeing what this year presents for him. But even in peril last year, without Caruso, without Lonzo, for most of the year, I wasn't extremely impressed with what he was showing. We know what he can do, but he's very one-dimensional, right? He's a scorer. He needs the ball. He needs the ball in his hands on offense, and B, that's kind of it, right? Like he's not a great defender, whichever way you put him. And if they tried him at 2 without the ball, he's just not that effective. So I appreciate the fact that he can put up 12 points a game with the ball in his hands. That's awesome. But I need to see more out of his game. And if he stays the same and remains the type that he is, I don't think he'll be around long, and I don't think he'll get much tick, especially with Goran and Ayo.
Yeah, him being one-dimensional is a problem, but I think the bigger issue for me, is kind of like with Vooch, and Vooch acknowledges in his conference that when the shot wasn't falling, things kind of snowball from there. And I'm fine with you not having the night shooting, but stop turning the ball over. Don't check out completely on defense, because when Kobe locks in, he can defend, but he had too many moments where he just would not be there because he wasn't doing anything on offense. And so I'm with you that it's going to be hard for him to get minutes if he's not showing something early on or they don't need it right away. And I could totally see them trying to find some versatility. Only way I can see him getting a lot of tick right off the bat without, just by default is if Billy follows through on his pledge to play Alex at the 4. Like, and that's the only
true.
way.
See, that's the other thing about it too, is where is Caruso going to play this year? I mean,
everywhere. You're just going to put him on the floor. Just get him on the floor.
Exactly. I remember games last year where it was like Lonzo's guarding the 4 and Caruso's guarding the 5. And I was like, what is going on? But I can see the same this year because of how excellent he is at defending every position. So, and on it with how low to the backcourt is, it's kind of a no-brainer to throw him down low. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, with Kobe, to be seen with him, big storyline this year, how he plays. So I'll be excited to watch that.
All right, Ryan, get you out here with putting you on the spot.
Put me on the spot.
What is your prediction for this team this year?
Oh, yeah, put me on the spot. I didn't think you're gonna put me on the spot with a tough one, but and I don't want to copy. I want to be original. Yeah,
that's why I like to have people who are in the content creation business, because they never want to give the same answer. So it's always like,
I know, because I'm a fan of my own stuff. I love what NBC does. I love KC talked about it on our Bulls Talk podcast. He can see his team going, from 5th to 10th, and I totally agree. And I heard Jason Goff say, what do you say? The Sixers, the Bucks, the Nets, the Cavs, and the Heat are all above the Bulls, and I totally agree. God, yeah. Let's go. Do I have to? I mean, if I have to pinpoint a place in the East, I feel like 5th is in their arsenal. 6th last year, 5th this year with everyone healthy, and this is without Lonzo. We know that he's not going to be around, honestly, probably until December, January, somewhere around there. I hope.
Right.
We hope. We don't know. But this team is, with everyone improving, everyone getting stronger, and I say that as if the rest of the conference isn't doing the same. But second year, and this is the thing too. A lot of teams are improving, right? Like the Cavs. Who else? I mean, the Nets keeping their guys, right? But at the same time, it's almost, we saw how the Bulls did the same thing last year, but yeah, it took a minute for them to get that chemistry. It took a minute for them to get healthy. We have to see how it plays out with the rest of the guys, because they might be in the same situation like that. You could totally foresee the Cavs being in getting off to a slow start, having some, weird things in and out with their wins and losses, whatever. I like 5th. I for some reason I feel like the Nets are going to burn and crash again. So I want to put the Bulls above them. Yeah, I want to put them at 5th. Record wise, I'd love to see 50 wins.
That seems fair.
I think this East is just going to be I could see like the top seed getting 60 wins or something. This is going to be an unbelievably entertaining conference to watch, because there are so many teams that are so good. I mean, who were the play-in teams last year too that we're looking at? I was reading something today about like the Hawks. They have DeJounte Murray.
Hornets, the Cavs, and the Nets were the 4 that
if the Hornets decide not to be children anymore.
Well, they took 2 steps forward, took 3 steps back this offseason. Like, what
I mean, because they are such a fun team to watch. And side note, the firing of James Borrego is still confusing to me.
Man, so I'm glad you brought that up real quick, because I was giving Mike mad props last year. Like, oh, Mike got a good coach finally.
Right?
For the longest time, I was like, man, he has been a horrible owner. Like, he just couldn't get.
He's been a horrible owner. He's got bad coaches, and he finally gave up the reins of of drafting, because he doesn't know how to draft dudes. And they get instantly better. And now everyone is a child and wants to get arrested, and I'm not trying to put them in that category. I don't want to throw them.
I mean, they're all. They had like,
oh my god, I heard I saw a funny Twitter meme that was saying something like, basketball is the Hornets' second job. They don't. It's like a part-time gig for them.
LaMelo's just out here being a superstar. Had 2 guys catch felonies, fired their coach who actually let it turn around. Like, it just
what's going on? So
you got book night trying to fight staffers and stuff during the season.
And it is just and then I mean, Borrego brings them, adds 10 wins to them per year, and he gets canned.
Nope, not good enough.
And then they bring back
defense is not good enough.
Clifford. How often has it worked for a coach to come back on a second stint after he's been canned? What are they doing? I mean, I'd love to do another podcast about how unbelievably dumb the Hornets have been.
Oh no, you locked in now. You said it. It's on.
Right?
It's on
I
wax.
mean,
You said it.
I mean, it is blasphemy. But to that, I hope bring it all back to the Bulls. I hope that gives the Bulls an advantage, at least that they're starting off with their team on the floor, and their coach is good, and their management is good, and that's all good. So, yeah, funny how the East is going to be, but on the flip side, there is going to be a lot of competition. So I will cautiously say fifth. And I hope for 50 wins because last year is 46 and 36. Mm-hmm. 50 sounds right. I want to say there's improvement, but I don't want to say there's a huge jump because we're missing Lonzo and because the East is wildly competitive. So I'll stand with that calculated guess.
Listen, 4 wins and 1 spot up would be massive improvement, right? With how revamped the East has been.
I think that's what they're looking at, right? Too, because what did AK say? He just said I think he wants to see improvement from last year, which technically is a second round.
Yeah, he's not taking another first round L.
Right. First round L is an understatement to what last year was. We lost by 20 points on average.
I was hoping that it was far enough in the past that we could just call it that.
It's still burnt. Watching those games was wow.
Remember how hyped up everybody was after game 2 and Caruso came in the locker room like, look, y'all, they're about to come back at us. Caruso was Nostradamus, man. He said, look, that was cool, but they're about to do something that y'all aren't ready for. And then they came out and put the shellacking on
it was just so typical Chicago sport. I mean, we looked at the White Sox last year after who they played in the first round. Was it the A's or was that 2 years ago?
That was
whoever they played, they're getting smoked. They're down 2-0, facing elimination, and they won one. And I remember Liam Hendricks putting up Sox in 5, and then they got canned the next game, and it was like, yeah, exactly what was going to happen. So I hope that's not the case, and I hope that the Bulls don't do that type of talk. but second round playoffs would be phenomenal in my head. But that also leaves us with a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of questions by the end of the season, regardless. I think. Re-signing Vooch, re-signing Kobe, re-signing Io. What do we do in the draft? Where's Dalen at? Where's Lonzo at? So this is going to be an entertaining season. I'm excited. I'm very excited to watch, especially after. And I'll close on this with the absolute atrocity that the White Sox are. I know that actually I'm a White Sox fan. The Cubs look good. I like how they look.
Future's bright. We'll keep the fingers crossed on that.
Future's bright, and the Bears are shocking, but I don't see that lasting long. So it is Bulls time. It is basketball time, and I appreciate talking to you about this, Josh. Thank you.
If you've been paying attention, folks, Ryan Taylor has just laid out the outline for our next conversation that will happen sometime during this NBA season.
Tune into our podcast about the Charlotte Hornets and their misery.
That's right.
Because that's a new topic.
Yeah. Follow him. He is Ryan Taylor of NBC Sports Chicago. Follow him on Twitter at @rytay_. That's at RYTAY_. I got it right this time.
You got me. Got me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, dude, thank you so much for your time. You wonderful. And also, folks, a little bit of the behind the curtains action here. We had to reschedule this a couple times because I realized late that media day was happening when it was. So we got this going, and Ryan has been so amenable, and I appreciate all of that. And of course, everybody's been gracious. You guys got a good team over there at NBC Sports Chicago. Tell them I said that. We got a great team. I'm proud of us. So and keep bringing us on, please. This is awesome. For sure. Hey, you guys keep saying yes. So we're open. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Joshy Buck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com. Email address is clockersports@gmail.com. And of course, you can follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at 30pod. That's the number 30pod. And be sure to read the stuff. Last Word on Pro Football, heavy on Bulls, and of course, Soaring Down South. And you can read everything at clockersports.com. And until the very next time, you already know what it is, man. We're gone.